Welcome, everybody. I'm Nizan Mosery, the traveling investor, and welcome to another episode of Multifamily Inc., where we talk about success strategies, and how you can get yours. On today's episode, I have Jenn and Joe Delle, an incredible couple, powerhouse team that they have built their real estate company, and they are truly successful living life on their terms. Welcome, Jenn and Joe. How are you guys doing?
Yay, thanks for having us.
Happy to be here. Thank you.
Yeah, awesome. So you guys have been in real estate for over 20 years, right? And
Yep.
I know that you guys started in the rental business and you found out that really wasn't going your way. So instead of me talking, why don't you guys share a little bit about where you were before real estate, what that switch was that made you jump into the real estate world?
Wow. Well, cool. Thanks for having us on. So I'm Joe Delle. I started my real estate thing. I guess when I was a kid, my parents had some rentals. And when I learned at a young age what I did not want to do, because they kind of wrote the book on like what all the things to do wrong. So I was in real estate, but I didn't have that really like desire when I was a little kid, or a teenager growing up. But then I got lucky enough. I really did. I was at a friend's house. I was 22 years old. It was the year 2000, and we were all hanging out, a bunch of us, and he was taking some stuff out of his closet. And when he did, he pulled out this real estate course. And this course was from Ron the Grand. He bought it off a late night TV commercial, which if you remember back then, it was like those infomercials really late at night.
Mm-hmm.
And there was Ron selling this course on how to make money in real estate without, with no banks and stuff like that. So I didn't realize what I was getting into back then, but I asked my friend if I could borrow it. He never opened it. I had the VCR tapes, the audio cassette tapes, the book, brand new, still in the wrapper. So I begged him to let me borrow it. He did. I watched the tapes, listened to them. I just went to work and did what it said. And a little over a month later, I had my first deal under contract. And my first piece of real estate I ever owned, I wholesaled it. I really actually did a double closing. So the first house I owned it for a half an hour. And I made $15,000 on that deal. And when I was 22, 23 at the time, I was broke. I had bad credit. My friend, I was working for him in sales at his paving company. So it wasn't anything glamorous at all. I was going to go to college to be a chiropractor, but I chickened out, so I never went because the thought of touching people the rest of my life kind of grossed me out. Just what happened. So I did that deal. And then I got a job in the car business doing sales for a couple of years, but then I got promoted to finance. And then lucky enough, in 2008, I met my wife. And I had my own house that I was living in. She had her own house that she living in. And
I was a school teacher. I absolutely loved it. I was an English teacher, grades 7 through 12. But yeah, I owned my own house and had a roommate. So I guess I was kind of house hacking back in the day, not really knowing it would be a cool thing. And we met in January, and by the end of summer, he's dragging me to all these really rundown houses. And some of them I walked in and I walked right back out. I'm trying to figure out, what are we doing? Like, this is weird. Like, you already have a great job. You make a lot of money. I'm a teacher. And he had a vision that I didn't quite understand for a few more years to come. That's for sure.
yeah, so we were finding these deals, and the market was tanking in '08. End of '08, we were finding deals in upstate New York. We're from Rochester, New York.
Mm-hmm.
And we're finding these properties for 30, 40,000, which are single family homes out in the suburbs. So that's what we were doing. We were buying about one a year, sometimes not even, but we'd buy these houses. We would renovate them, make them nice. We would rent them out. We would refinance, pull all that money back out. And then a couple of years ago, Jen was like, did you know we were burring? Which I didn't know that was even like a thing.
Who knew?
I just thought there was this cool... Yeah, I just like, hey, this is strategy, because
You thought you invented something cool.
well, I knew everybody at the banks, and I knew that once I asked about refinancing, how much they do and what it was like, I was like, my gosh, so not only am I getting all of our money out, I'm taking extra money out of the deals too by doing that. And the rates back then were like 5%, so they were pretty good. And so we started burning for the first few years. Jen walked away from teaching once we got married, had 2 children. And then in 2016, we had a 1-year-old. We had a 3-year-old. I'm at the bank. I'm refinancing out of one of our properties. And my friend, who is the mortgage officer there, says, Joe, at 10 mortgages, this bank will cut you off. So you better figure something else out. So I was explaining to my wife, this was like the spring of 2016. So I started looking on YouTube about, how to do deals without banks and credit. And then don't I once again stumble upon Ron LeGrand. And now he's got a YouTube channel. Back when I first started, YouTube wasn't invented yet. But now he's got a YouTube channel and he's explaining this process. So for probably a good 6-7 months, I dove deep down the rabbit hole, watched every video, really knew this is what we wanted to do. And we started doing that. We hired his team as a coach. Mm-hmm. And that's when we started doing these creative finance deals.
Taking it seriously, like a real business.
Yeah.
What changed, or how did you then take it to make it into a real business? What were some of the things that you started to implement to make it into a real business? And then we'll go back to the beginning and we'll talk more about that.
Well, like Jenn said, I think we started taking it serious. So the first thing we did is we hired a coach. I watched the videos. I watched it. I realized this is what we want to do, but there were so many missing pieces to the puzzle. And that's why I've never spent money on college, but I believe coaching and whatever you want to get into is important, right? And this is why we go to the mastermind together, right? Mm-hmm. To get around other successful people and find out how they got there. And that was the key for us, because the first creative finance deal we did, we bought a house that was turnkey, 10 minutes from where we live. We bought it with $100 down. We had a 0% mortgage and a $500 a month payment. With taxes and insurance, it was a couple $100 more, but it was a 0% mortgage that I bought with $100 down and no more contractors. So that's when I was like, the bells ringing. Like, I'm like, this is what we need to do from now on. And that was really what lit the fire for us.
That's wild. So you bought it, you realized this is what you wanted to do, and then you found coaching. How important is coaching in business, that when someone's getting started? So, the people that are listening to us today are looking to get into real estate. They're maybe doing what you were doing in the past, rentals, wholesaling. So what was it that made you decide we needed to get a coach? How important is that? Do you recommend getting a coach for people?
Well, I'm all about it, because what happens is you can try to figure out on your own, but my gosh, all the mistakes are costly. All the time is costly. All the lack of knowledge and experience is very costly. How many deals I missed because I didn't know better? Mm-hmm. Where if I had that coach who taught me this, prior, oh my gosh, right? Only if. So for me, I thought that was extremely important. And it's like having that big brother or big sister who's looking over your shoulder, who's already done it. And they're just saying, hey, like, don't do that. Try this. And I'm like, oh, that makes sense. Like, all the missing things of what to do. So, to this day, we have a coach and are in the mastermind. So we really think that if that's what you're going for, for me, it's a no-brainer.
Yeah, you have to make sure that you're not getting a coach to help you just do deals. Like, you have to already be taking the action, already be bringing the bulk of the questions to the conversations and the meetings that you might have with your coach, because the coach isn't going to be able to do the deal for you. You still have to be the one up at bat taking the swings, but the coach is going to coach you through that. And I think that's a little bit of a misconception. It's like anything though, right? You sign up for a gym membership, you're not going to get buff unless you actually do the workouts at the gym. So same analogy there.
That's great. And now you guys work together in your company as a team. What roles do you guys play? Do you guys have individual roles? Do you guys kind of every once in a while cross over into the other side?
Not anymore. We used to in the very, very beginning. You're figuring it out, right? So looking back, it's kind of funny. We laugh because I would be looking at him like, you need to be doing this. And he is trying to get me on seller calls. And we figured out what we really were great at, what we enjoyed doing. And you let the person do their thing. And you just, have the meeting daily, weekly of the KPIs, of the key performance indicators of the business. So I personally love the back end, keeping everything running, the operations, the marketing. He likes marketing too, but I love social media. We do a lot of ads that way. I just got out of our CFO meeting, so I'm making sure all of the numbers are, I can present to him so he knows where we're at, but really just taking, the behind the scenes, that's really me, where he's on the front end. He's the deal maker, the analyzer, the structuring, the talking to the sellers. He loves that.
How did you guys come up with those roles?
Trial and error.
Yeah.
Well, you do that. I don't like it. You do that. I don't want to.
Yeah.
And there does come a time where you've got to, like, I don't really love numbers or weren't my thing. I always used to say that. So the fact that I'm getting out of the CFO meeting and I know all of our financials inside and out is kind of crazy. Like over the last 16 years, I'm the person in charge of that. But, there's times where you just got to do the things that need to get done. But then also you can delegate and you can hire once you get to, certain levels of your business too. But yeah, I tried the seller call thing. I didn't enjoy it. I'm sure I could be good at it as anything, but
you'd be really good at it. But she's just like, hey, I'm so busy doing all this other stuff. She's like, you do that. And I'm like, well, and I like doing it. So it kind of fit well.
You love the thrill of the deal too.
Oh, it's like a chess match, right? And there's no loser, but you want to make the deal work, right? You want to win. And I guess the win is getting the deal. But I love the thrill of making the deal. And so that always was really exciting for me. Mm-hmm. But I think what happened was when I still had my job at the car dealership in finance up until 4 years ago right now. COVID happened in 2020. Right before COVID happened, the owner of my dealer group just told me we're buying 12 new locations. Joe, you're going to get a big raise. We're going to have you open up the 12 new stores. I'm head of finance, making really good money. And then once COVID happened, New York closed. Mm-hmm. And from upstate New York and Rochester, they were really strict. Some places around the country, COVID, they didn't really close it down as much. New York, it was locked. So when Jenn and I were sitting home, she was like, yeah, you're not going back to work. Like, we're going to do this full time. We're going to do it now. And she saw the vision before I did, because I was like, you're crazy. I just got that raise. But lo and behold, it took a couple weeks before I realized it. So when we realized we're going to do this full time, we had to start just doing the business. And we figured out like, hey, she's good at that. And like, this is what I'm kind of good at. And just by some trial and error, we found out what we like and don't like and started doing that.
And all right, that's awesome, man. That's a great way to do it. Trial and error usually works, right? It takes a little bit. It takes a little time, but once you figure it out, everybody knows their roles. So you guys went from doing rentals. Were you renovating the rentals? Were you doing anything to these rentals that you were buying, or you were buying a house, you're putting a renter in it, you realized this is not what we wanted to do, and then you went and you found Ron LeGrand and he's showing you how to do what? Rent to owns, seller financing. Explain to people what a rent to own is and seller financing.
Well, we decided we wanted to also start making money. And that's when we started finding about rent to own. And it really aligned a lot with a few things that we really enjoy. One, obviously helping people. Two, we want to make a lot of money. Three, you get a lot less headaches, which is like check, 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 right? So when we had all of our rentals, it was like being an adult babysitter. And we were she was managing a lot of it for us. And, the time the light bulb goes and, can you come change the light bulb and all the small weird stuff, it just got to be like, if we're going to grow this, like that's a lot. So when we found out rent to own, that was our favorite strategy, because when we do rent to own, our renters give us a large, deposit for moving in, a non-refundable option deposit. And they're $10,000, $20,000, $30,000 sometimes, which is great. And then they pay rent too, but they're responsible for all the maintenance and repairs. So we don't get any of those phone calls. And some buy, some don't. We just got two back, where one, he just moved out, and the other, he found a girl and she lives somewhere else. So he moved in with her, and he's like, I feel so bad. I know I don't get my deposit back. You guys are awesome. This is my fault. And I'm not buying the house, you get it back. So I'm like, okay, that happens. And then once in a while, you do get somebody who buys it. And when they do, you get a big old back end check. And I know everybody always complains, like, you just lost a door. I'm like, well, when you see the size of the check we just got, you could go buy 3 or 4 more doors because of the way that we buy. Yeah. So once we found this whole creative finance thing, and then how we're buying on terms and then sell them with rent to own, we started buying houses with $100 down, $1,000 down, a couple grand in closing costs. We own this property. And then when our renters move in, they're giving us 10, 20, 30,000 to move in. So we're in a lot of these situations getting paid money to buy the house. And then we get the monthly cash flow too, and the depreciation and the pay down, all the wonderful things of real estate, what it does. And so for us, that was probably the biggest strategy. So we had one crazy summer. Well, many, but the one summer was 2017, where we had some rental properties, and we let all of them know that when their lease is up, we're going to do rent to own. we gave our renters the first right if they wanted to rent to own, but they didn't want to. So when they moved out, we had to place people in all these single family homes that summer. And so we had properties, we had them available. We're trying to show them. I mean, we're getting 300, 400, 500 messages a day from people wanting to learn about this and how do I get involved. So she's, got two little ones at home as a stay-at-home mom, and I'm never home because I'm working a ton. But we're both like, hey, I got 200 messages today. She's like, I've got 350 messages today from renters who want to know about our program. So it was pretty intense that first summer, but when we got over that hump, we really learned a lot, and that's what's helped us tremendously.
That's awesome. So let's talk about how you guys actually find these deals. What kind? Where do you go to look for them? Because from what you're saying, you're talking directly to the sellers. Mm-hmm. Are these sellers distressed at any way? Are they looking to sell, or did you just kind of go knock on their door and say, "Hey, I'd like to buy your house"?
Well, they're motivated. They have some type of motivation behind the desire to sell. Sometimes it's a high desire, right? A high pain point or high motivation, or sometimes they're just sick of the house. Right. So every situation is a little bit different. I could talk about one we're doing right now. And that's kind of the easier one. The girl who works for us, her name's Lexi. She's awesome. She just reached out today because we have a seller who lives outside of Tampa in a town called Riverview. And she's really wants to just walk away. The house is built in 2023. It's a year-old house. Turnkey. It needs nothing.
Oh, wow.
But she doesn't want her child to be in that school district anymore. So they're moving. They found out where they want to be. And so she reached out and said, hey, I just bought it last year. I don't need to make any money. I just want to walk away from it. And she says, if I pay a realtor, I know I'm going to lose some money and I can't do that. So once we told her how we could buy it, and I didn't know this, that you could buy a piece of real estate, you could own it, you could take deed to it, it's yours, but the loan will stay in the seller's name. Mm-hmm. And I didn't know we could do that. And so once we learned that topic way back in 16 and 17, we just offer her terms. And she was like, yeah, I'll do that. So if I could buy this house, which we're going to try to write it up today if we can, we're going to buy it with $100 down. We'll pay on a $400,000 home. I would imagine you'll pay about $7, $8, $9 grand in closing costs. $10,000. I own a turnkey 1-year-old new build house in Florida. I was like, bell ringer. Now, what was her pain point? She wanted her kid in a better school district. She didn't like that one. I have some sellers who inherited a home. Some are moving from job transfers. All of the things. There's probably a huge list of reasons why some people are motivated to sell. Right. I don't know where that list is, but we could probably build it on our own.
We do have a list here.
But that's really what happened on that one in particular. And then I have one in Pennsylvania because we do this nationwide. Now, this seller is not open to seller financing, but it's a house where it's a $125,000 house. It rents for $1,200 a month. It needs some work, but the seller says, I will sell it to you for $15,000.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Yep. Small town PA.
With a mortgage on it?
No, it's free and clear.
Free and clear. So they're willing to turn around and sell you a $125,000 home for $15,000.
No, it needs some work. She ain't pretty.
It needs work. It needs work.
It's not. Right. It's not dilapidated. It needs work. It needs some updating, really. But it's a decent house.
What's their pain point?
They want to get the heck out of town, and so they've been shopping around offers. And we said, hey, we could buy that. So I talked to some local agents, and they told us what it would sell for, what it would rent for. The agent I spoke to also owns the local property management company. So he's like, hey, houses sell for this. It rents for that. I have renters if you want to buy it. And so
dang,
there you go. So we got that under contract yesterday. So
how do you get your leads? Do you buy lists from people? Do you have someone on your team that scours the internet that's looking? Do you put ads out searching for motivated sellers?
So I'm going to drop a big one for your audience.
Yeah.
This is because we love you so much.
Get your pens ready.
Get your pens
ready. If you're recording, record this. Listen up.
Okay. So this works for single family homes. It works for multifamily because I know this is the specialty here. I've had clients do car washes this way, guys. So what we're going to tell you works in many facets. But what we do, especially when we just got started, I would join Facebook groups. So what does that mean, Joe? I want to do deals in Charlotte, North Carolina, for an example. I could be anywhere in the world as long as I have my Wi-Fi on my phone.
Mm-hmm.
And I would go and a Facebook account. And on my personal Facebook account, I would go to Charlotte, North Carolina groups. And if you type in search bar Charlotte, North Carolina, you can hit the tab for groups and it lists all the groups in that area. Now, I would join groups that have 10, 20, 30, 40, 50,000 people, 100,000 people, lots of people in them. And then I would join the group. And then what I would do, I would make a post in the group from my personal page. And all it says, so take out your pens, it just says, does anyone have a house for sale that's not market ready? I'm looking to buy one in the next 2 to 3 weeks. Or my wife and I are looking to buy one in the next 2 to 3 weeks, right? Now, before I hit post, I could change the background of that post. So it's not just the words. I can make the background blue, pink. I could do the, the different emoji, like the smiley face emojis or the poop emoji, whatever you want. I usually like blue or pink, something that stands out. You post that in the groups, because when I first got started, when Jen and I did our first creative finance deal, we had to spend a few $1,000s generating off-market leads. Now we did direct mail. Now you spend about $1 per letter per so if you do $5,000, you get about 5,000 letters. You get about a 1 to maybe 2% response rate. So for $5,000, you're going to have 50, 60, 70 people reach out to you. You're going to spend about $100 a lead. Well, we're able to get leads for free by joining these Facebook groups and making this little post. And when we do that, I mean, some of these groups you get no responses on. Some of these groups, it gets to be overwhelming with how many people reach out to you. I've had some groups where we've gotten a few hundred out of that comments. So with that, now we just DM them. It goes right into the messaging. We ask them a few questions. And if I get 10, 20 leads in a group, I might only talk to 3 or 4 or 5 of them, which are the good ones, because the rest kind of weed themselves out through the messaging. Either they're grumpy or they just want way too much or something like that's going on. But there's going to be a couple good ones in there those are the ones you get in the calls with. And once we kind of figured out that system of how to do that, now I want to do deals in Nashville, Tennessee, join groups in Nashville, Tennessee. I want to do deals in Rochester, New York, join groups in Rochester, New York. I could do this anywhere, and I could do it from anywhere around the world too. So that's what's really cool is our knack was finding off-market leads where I don't have to spend a dime on marketing. That's the key, guys. So join the groups where you want to do business. Make sure they have people on them. Make that post like we talked about, and then they're going to reach out to you. So get ready to start talking to them, because you got to talk to them.
Right. You got
to say, yeah, right. Yeah. And that's really the key.
That's fantastic. And like you said, you can do this on Wi-Fi and a phone, sitting on the beach in Tahiti or climbing Kilimanjaro.
Now,
right?
Here's the thing I learned. You're absolutely right. But if you're on the beach, be on the beach. Right? Enjoy that beach. But you'll have plenty of time to be able to do this. But you're right. You can do it from anywhere around the world. We had one reach out. She had a property in Marco Island. It was like a $1.8 million home. I didn't know it at the time. And she just sees the post and she writes a comment, says 900,000 and it's yours. I'm like, well, that's a lot of money from a house, but let me check it out. We message. She's got a house on Marco Island. If you don't know where Marco Island is, it's a swanky little island off Naples, Florida, where like all the rich people have houses. It's like the 6th most affluent place in the country. So when she's asking for like 50 cents on the dollar, and it's a house on the water, ranch built in 1990, so it wasn't some like dilapidated house, but it needs some work, and she didn't want to have to put it on the market. And there's many reasons why people want to sell their houses off market, right? And same thing with multifamily, same thing, car washes. I mean, so many different things that will happen that way just by putting out that post.
That's incredible. That's fantastic. So you can really, someone starting in this rent to own game can really start this business, achieve success, gain some cash flow, bring in some extra money without going out there and having to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars on acquiring properties, finding leads and doing all of that. Just as simple as, now it's not an easy task, it's a simple task, right? Usually the things that are simple aren't that easy to do, right? It takes a lot of time and energy and calling people and understanding, I guess, how to analyze a home while you're talking to someone on the phone, right? Because you can go through that real quick on that. What were some of the things that added or helped you achieve your success? And what does success look like? Have you guys achieved success yet in your eyes? Where's that bar set for you?
Well, our coach says a success is a good night's sleep. So yes, we are. I'm sleeping well. And I have to say at this point, we moved from New York down to Florida. We homeschool our 2 kids. And although, like you said, yeah, like it's a lot of work at times for sure. We have a lot of things churning, but at the end of the day, it is our time and we're building it together. So yes, I feel like I am successful. Am I where I think I should be and could be? No, I think that bar continues to raise. Like you get to one level, but okay, that was great. But like, what's the next thing you're trying to achieve? And for us right now too, it's just helping others get that life back, that freedom of, not having just 2 weeks off a year. Like the fact that he only had 2 weeks off, like just sticks with me. Because that really depended, like, could we go away or was he going to do a staycation so he could hunt, right? Because he worked so hard. We always had, stipulations and neither of us like being told what to do. So that works out in our favor, being able to make a lot of decisions all day long. But yeah, I mean, that's my take on it.
Yeah, and I think the same thing because today is Thursday. My day on Thursday, I'd have to be at work at 8 in the morning and I'd get out. This is my early day. I got to leave at 6 o'clock. So, wow. When I'm sitting at work from leaving my house at 7:30 in the morning and I get there at 8 and then I'm there till 6 o'clock. And that's my early day because some days I didn't leave till 9 or 9:30. And then there was sales that you have. You're not home till 11 o'clock at night. That's not living. Yeah, I felt like I had a good job. I made good money, but it wasn't making me happy. I'm naturally happy, but I felt like in upstate New York, summer is like 2.5 months long.
Not even.
And I'm in this office. Right. I'm in the office 5-6 days a week. And it wasn't fitting what I wanted to do. But it's one of these things you can become accustomed to, right? You get the golden handcuffs is what I call it, where
that's right.
You're kind of handcuffed to that job because you got bills, you got family, you've got kids, all the things. So it puts a lot of pressure on humans that we have to live this rat race. And I knew that wasn't what I wanted. I knew one day, a dream was one day with my wife, we could move to Florida, right? But we did it way sooner than we ever thought possible because we do this remote, guys. We do it from home. We're at home. We get to have our staff come to our house when we need them to. Sometimes they work from home. Some days on a Tuesday afternoon, I might be on the kids' field trip because we homeschool and I could never do that. Missing 1 hour of work. I mean, you come back and if you miss an hour, the stuff that was waiting for you were to come back. It just wasn't a really good fit. So my level of success is obviously I get to spend more time with my family. I'm making way more money than I did at my old job, way more. And we get to call the shots. I get to work and I get to, flirt with my boss now because it's my wife. And that's pretty awesome. So that's what's fun. And you make it fun, right? And the thing is I learned from Dan Kennedy is we do this because we work with who we want, when we want, where we want. And I get to do all of those things right now. And the income is there. My son and my daughter, I did not spend a whole lot of time with them when they were really small. And you don't have that much time.
Yeah, like this morning I came out from blow drying my hair and the house is empty. And I'm like, where did everybody go? I didn't know he got to take them off to Starbucks, coming back from the mastermind. So I was like, oh, okay. But he wouldn't be able to do that. The kids would have been out the door on a bus, rush. And so those little things, we just don't take those for granted.
You didn't know I took them this morning?
I didn't know you took them.
Oh, yeah.
I was like calling both of them. And is anybody here?
I was like, hey, kids, who wants to go Dad to Starbucks? And they're both like, no. I'm like, all right, cool, let's go. Right.
Yeah. So those little moments, you catch yourself because it is stressful at times, obviously running your own businesses, but having the lunch together in the middle of the day or slow morning breakfast or an off to Starbucks run or tomorrow the team's coming over and we get lunch for everybody. And like, those are the cool parts. And like, those are the moments that I hope the kids remember too, and really enjoying the small wins throughout the week, because that's what we're doing this for.
Absolutely. It's all about creating the memories with the kids and the families. That's what they're going to remember.
And that's what you do this for, because I will say at the car business, I got to work with some really wealthy, really successful men and women. And the owners, every single one of them, I always say, like, hey, looking back, if you had to do this all over again, like, what would you do? What would you change? And they're like, you know what? I spent so much time dedicated to the business and this building and the dealership and growing this. I never saw my kids growing up. I miss it. And now they're old and they moved out of the house and they don't really have that great connection with dad. And I've seen that on multiple times by these super wealthy, successful, especially the men. And I'm like, man, my gosh, like I don't want that to ever happen. So the fact is, like, they're with me every day. The fact that we were just at the mastermind and we were gone from them for a couple of days, like that's a lot. Like I'm used to seeing them 24/7, these kids. And I love that. That's why I became a dad, right? And they're still young. They're 11 and they're 9. And
That's awesome.
Our kids are actually doing our business too. My son is the king of follow up. He wants some toy. He has a YouTube channel. And so if he wants some new stuffed animal, it's $12 on Amazon. He comes up, he hits me up. He's like, Dad, do you need any follow up? Not can I have a new toy? Dad, do you need any follow up? I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, well, there's a stuffed animal and I really want it for my YouTube channel. It's $12. I already found it on Amazon. So like, do you need me to follow up with some people? I'm like, yeah, take my iPad, get into our CRM, our computer, and then just message these people. And he's been doing it since he's 8. He's 9 now. And he just gets in there for 3 days. And then I'm like, all right, good job. Go pick out your stuffed animal. And he goes, picks it up, and he gets it. And then Jenn put up a really cool short 2 weeks ago?
Yeah, I was literally just making lunch, and it's middle of the day. My daughter's got her laptop out. She was like working on like home row how to type, right? Like one of her school assignments. The next thing I know, she's in the CRM. She's laughing because some guy's like, no way, no how will I do seller financing? So she's like, okay, we're going to DND this guy. And then she's like giggling because she's pulling his house up on Zillow because, you know, she's copying and pasting. And I'm like, what 11-year-old knows how to pull a house up on Zillow? And now she's like, you know, looking around in 3-bedroom, 2-bath. So it's just really funny.
That's amazing. That is amazing, right? We teach our children by example. They watch what we do. They see what we do. If we love what we do, if we have enjoyment, if we have peace and serenity as well with what we do, if it brings that to us, it flows into them as well, and they pick up on it. They sense it. And yeah, that's great. I love it. Tell me, how many people do you have on your team?
Oh gosh, I was thinking about that. We just had another hire today. So we have, you know, 2 virtual assistants. So on our real estate team, one does the messaging back and forth with the sellers with the first couple of questions. And then we have our acquisitionist. She's full-time talking to those sellers.
She's here in Florida. Her name's Lexi. We have Felipa. She's from Sweden. She's our rock star. She's our more of Jenn's, but executive assistant. And she's awesome. We have a young lady in Texas who helps us with dispo and things like that. So when we have a property and we need to find either a rent to own person, she does that. And she's based out of Texas. She's awesome. And then our newest hire today is Kelly for helping with our, client fulfillment, things like that, our coaching business, because we've had a lot of folks reach out to us and we want to make sure everybody gets all the service they need. So she started. And just a great addition to the team. So
then we have Abby, who's been with us the longest.
Abby's our rock star. She
came to us. She was still in high school, and we told her she had to graduate first. And then, literally, like right after she graduated, she joined our team. She was in the acquisitions role, but then she literally created a spot for herself as our IT tech person. So everything on the back end, from CRMs to websites to all the gadgets that talk to each other. She's our literal like glue that holds this team together.
Yeah. So she's 21 now, lives in Ohio and is amazing. So at her young age, the things that she's been able to do is just outstanding. And she's our, just our rock star, and she really helps keep everything organized and together. So gotta love Abby.
Yeah.
So let me ask you this. Now, if somebody's starting out and they want to do what you guys do they need to go out and find a team first? What would be some of the first steps for somebody getting started in this? And I want to talk about your coaching program as well that you guys have, that you teach people to do what you do. But for those listening right now, for them to get started, what would you say would be the top 5 or the first couple of steps that they need to do so they can go out and get what they want?
You have to know what you want, first of all. So start there, like figure that part out. And that's really hard for most people. And then after that, we're huge proponents of like roll up your sleeves and you do the work. Like you cannot, I don't firmly believe, I'll stand on this hill forever. You need to do the position for the most part. Maybe not all the tech stuff, but if you're going to talk to your sellers or you're going to, dispo a property, you need to know how that's done properly. So you need the training first and foremost. So you don't have to do, a certain amount, I wouldn't say, but your first hire would not be anyone other than yourself for the most part. Like Joe said, you just need to start talking to people. You need to know the questions to ask them and see if you can help them out. But you definitely don't want to worry about spending all the money on all different people and hiring. I've had people who like literally created a team and they didn't know what to coach them on because they had never done anything themselves. So that really unraveled quickly.
Yeah. And I 100% agree. I really think that boil back to like the very beginning, it was me.
Yeah.
Before I even knew my wife, right? And what did I do when I very first got started? I was broke. I had bad credit and I probably had about $300 to my name and a junky car. Like that was me at 22 years old.
Which is most people that get started in real estate. A lot of them are in that situation, right? Why do they get started in real estate? Because they're broke. They have no credit. They want the money. They want the lifestyle, right?
Well, and I have Crohn's disease. So I just spent my 21st birthday in the hospital. I was months behind on stuff. It was really tough for me. So I thank my lucky stars for Ron the Grand. I thank my lucky stars for my buddy Ron, who has bought the course but never did anything with it and then let me borrow it. So it's like all these things had to happen. But really what it was is once I found out this is what I want to do, you have to take massive, messy, ugly action. It's going to be wrong. It's not going to be perfect. That's okay. I was just like, hey, like, do you want to sell a house? Do you want to? I mean, I was just doing everything under the sun I could to figure out a deal. And so talk to people who maybe want to sell a house. You got to put yourself out there, what you're doing. And it's never been easier than right now. I know everybody's like, oh, it's easy because social media, I could connect with people all around the world for free without spending a penny because of social media. I could also share what I do on social media. And I could tell people, hey, this is what I do. If you have somebody wanting to sell their house, reach out to me, right? So it's never been easier to communicate with other people. So just share with the world what you're looking to do. And you got to align with the right thing. So if you want to build skyscrapers, get around people who are building skyscrapers. If you want to do multifamily, get around people doing multifamily. Align with what you want to do. Get around those folks. Learn how they got to where they are. And they've kind of blazed that trail for you and provide them some value, even if you don't have any money. Like, can I help with leads or whatever that is? But you got to take action, talk to people. That's really what it boils down to. It's try to make it sound cool. Talk to people.
Right. Awesome. So let's talk about your coaching program. When did you start that? And what does that look like when somebody gets involved and all that stuff? And share with us how they can find you.
Yeah, we started in 2021. People kept reaching out. We were posting just, what we were doing. And so we kind of just organically started kicking around the idea of let's, coach some people here. Because I was a teacher. He did a lot of sales training. And so it kind of came naturally to us. And I think together it was it's a fun duo, a husband and wife team. So we definitely seem to resonate with a lot of people, whether they're married or not. But it's been really fun journey. We started with one-on-one private mentoring, but then we realized that there were more people than, reaching out than we could help at a time. So then we shifted a little bit. We closed our one-on-one for a little while.
Well, what happened really too, it kind of happened like accidentally because we started hiring some staff, like 18, 19, 20-year-olds who never did this. We went from doing one deal a year to now doing a couple deals a month.
Yeah.
And when we were going to meetups, we were on podcasts, on Zoom meetups. We were just sharing what was working. And so my poor wife, like her DMs were getting blown up by people messaging her, asking her and myself too, but like, do you guys offer coaching? And we were really kind of growing our team at the time, doing more deals. So we were kind of pushing them away for a little bit, but then they're like, just take our money, show me how to do this, like to be like a consultant for their business. And we felt like we could definitely help folks because we already had our own staff doing really well and we're an open book. So we just shared with them how we taught our team. And so when we started teaching other clients what to do, my gosh, they just started doing so well. A few of them made it on like some really big podcasts, like Bigger Pockets. One of our clients, she just wrote a book with Bigger Pockets. which is really, really cool. It literally she's just showing it like the last week. It's finally published and ready to go. And we just helped a lot of clients do really well, because I think the difference is we're actually coaches where we give folks like step-by-step processes of how to get started from A to Z. And I think our coaching is a little bit different too, because when we first got started, they're like, you've got to spend money on, attracting leads. And if you don't attract leads, you don't have a business. And then when we found out we could not only just get like 1 lead or 2 leads, but we could get them like a ton of them for free because of Facebook. Now we could help our clients really grow because they don't have to have a big marketing budget. They could do it for free. And then I think by just giving them some simple questions of what to ask sellers, so our sellers make them the offer. Now it's just kind of dialing down to like analyzing the deals. And then once we kind of figure out how to analyze these creative finance deals, how to close them, and that's what we walk them through our coaching program. And I think our track record of, having such a high amount of client success is what builds up like it's still, I mean, we have a waiting list of, I saw it today, it was 309 people who still want to talk to us about getting into our coaching program. Wow. But we're just kind of far behind on that because, I can only answer the phone so many times a day.
That's fantastic. And how can people find you and your coaching program? Where can they search? Where can they look? What's the URL?
CreativeFinancePlaybook.com. So CreativeFinancePlaybook.com. And we call it the playbook because there's so many different plays you could do, so many different things you could do on one deal. We look at it this way, but it might be better off doing it that way. So that's why we call it the playbook. And it's not really actually a book, but it's a step-by-step process with working with us. We're showing you exactly what to do. And then when you give us those results of how that do, we give you the next steps. And we just made it fun. We make it super simple. If you go to our YouTube channel, Creative Finance Playbook on YouTube, our most popular video is a video of our daughter when she was 10, wrapping up a seller finance deal. I'm in the kitchen making dinner. I'm like cutting up an avocado and she's messaging a seller. So we found a process so easy, even a 10-year-old could do it. So you could do it too.
That's awesome. A process so simple, a 10-year-old can do it. I love it. And you can do this with no money down, with no money, good credit, bad credit, no credit. It's all about talking to people, getting out there on Facebook, getting into those Facebook groups, putting those posts out there, and then bringing those sellers in. And then from there, those of you that are listening, you're going to need Jen and Joe's help so that they can walk you through that whole process so that you can close on that house, get another tenant inside, and do that whole rent to own thing where the tenant pays all the utilities, all the maintenance, does everything. The house is still in your name, but they own it on paper, I guess, or own it in theory, right? It's a rent to own. So they're renting it from you with the idea of purchasing it later on down the road. They give you a nice deposit up front. They give you a monthly check. No expenses come out of that monthly check because the tenant pays all the expenses, right? And now you can say, what? How long do you hold the houses for? About 2, 3, 4, 5 years before your buyers, your tenants have to buy them?
We let them get as long as they want. We'll give them a set term what those figures are, but if they don't buy it out at that time, that's okay. We'll just renew it. We might revisit the price. We might revisit what their rent is to make it market standards. So make sure they get a break on, get a good deal, but that's exactly what we do. So we've got some who've been in there since 2018 who are still renting to own, and they love it and we love it.
And that's why it's really important on the front end that you know what you're saying to your seller so you can get a long-term length, because I do see that being a problem. Some people only get 2 or 3 years with their seller, and that's not enough time sometimes to be able to cash out a tenant buyer. So you got to be really mindful of that too.
What were some of the challenges, the mental, psychological challenges that you guys had to go through to break through the barriers to achieve the success that you've had today?
I think it's a daily battle sometimes. Even today, I woke up I'll be vulnerable. I woke up a little overwhelmed, mind racing, coming back away for 3 days, got a new hire I've got to train. I've got 2 kids that I'm coming back to, a house, suitcases, everything. And I was just like, wow, like I don't even know where to start. So 6 a.m., what was I doing? I'm in my Asana board, which is the way I communicate with all of my team members. And, I'm emailing my tax accountant, like doing all this, but that's sometimes like what I need to calm down. So I think it's listening to yourself and do the things that are going to wipe away your frustration or your overwhelm, or you're taking that action to kind of get that monkey off your back. And then for me, it's just listening to something. So we love, I don't even know, Napoleon Hill. Who else?
Steve Chandler.
Steve Chandler's another great
motivate
one.
yourself. So I think really the first thing we talk about in our coaching program is mindset. And, if it's something like, hey, I'm definitely going to do this, I'm going to figure this out, I'm going to make this happen, you need to have that mindset. I'm going to have great days, I'm going to have okay days, I might even have some bad days, and that's okay, but I'm going to do this no matter what. That's the kind of mindset that, like, just stubborn, I'm going to do this mentality. And so anything is first won or lost in the mind. So rather than like, hey, I'm going to try this for a couple of weeks and let me see how this works. And if it doesn't work, I'll go back to working at my other job. Like, it's a mentality thing. So when you're in our coaching program, that's the first thing that we're going to dial into. And when somebody says to us, like, hey, I don't need the mindset thing, you need it more than everybody else. Trust me. Because the minute you say, hey, I know everything, there's somebody going to be blown right by you.
You're not coachable or teachable at that moment. And you have to realize there's something to learn every day. And if you can give yourself some grace, I think that's like, for me, especially, like, you're not going to be perfect, and just expect that. Like, there will be problems. You'll have a laundry list of items like on our whiteboard behind me of, just, okay, what's the next thing? What's the next thing? And just know that you just wake up every day, you do the very best you can. You surround yourself with a team of players, whether if it's your attorneys or your contractors or the title companies, get the right people around you so you can succeed too. Like, don't forget about that team. Like, it might not be like a direct hire with you, like working day, elbow to elbow, but there are people that you're going to need in your life to get through this successfully.
Yeah. So mindset is huge. Like you said, Joe, you can kill yourself in your head before you get out of bed every single day in the morning, right? You got to have that mindset. And becoming successful, right? Just that phrase, you have to become successful. It doesn't just happen, so to become successful, we have to change. We have to become more or something different than we already are to be able to achieve more and get more and do more. Right. So that whole mindset, I agree with you 100%. The first thing that I talk with my coaching clients, it's all about mindset. You got to get your mind right, because there's going to be a lot of people out there that are going to be talking in your ear who have never done what we do or what our clients want to do. And they're out there talking negative crap to people's ears and go, oh, you'll never be successful. That's for them. What are you, crazy? Real estate's a scam. You need money. You need this. You need that. And I always tell people, just be careful who you're listening to. If you're listening to someone who's done what you've done and they're wildly successful, fantastic. If you're listening to, the guy sweeping, whoever it is that they've never done what you're doing, but they've got a ton of opinions, well, be careful who you're listening to, right? Even our friends and family who mean the best, they sometimes don't know, and they will do us more harm than good with their so-called love that they're giving us, right? So it's all about. Go ahead.
It's a lot of it. It's their own personal limiting beliefs that they're projecting on you. And so when I first got started, I had bad credit, I had no money. I'm 22 years old. I don't know really what to do. And I've got every family member I have telling me, what kind of scam are you trying to do with real estate? You can't do this. I had all my friends like, my old girlfriend way back then, like everybody in my circle, we were basically just trying to just talk crap and say I wasn't good enough. I didn't know what I was doing. You can't do this. And so for me, luckily, I am just so darn stubborn because I grew up poor. And I knew that if you wanted anything, it's never handed to you.
Right.
If you want anything, you better work your tail off and maybe you'll get it. It's no guarantee. Hard work pays off, right? It's hard work and sometimes luck, but sometimes it's whatever that is. And so persistence, and you have to be persistent. And when I grew up being poor, if I wanted a new pair of sneakers, because mine had holes in the shoes and I'm wintertime and I'm getting wet socks because I'm in school all day long. Like if I need a new pair of shoes, they weren't just like, oh yeah, let's go out and get you a pair. Like you had to be persistent, asking a lot. So it's the same thing that goes with this. It's like, just put your blinders on. Don't worry about all the outside stuff saying. If this is what you are and you're helping people and you're not doing bad stuff and you're going to make some money, those are all some great things, right? So my mindset is key. So one of the first things that really opened up for me were some Napoleon Hill, like Think and Grow Rich and Master Key to Riches was really big. But the one that really is off the radar that nobody ever talks about is 100 Ways to Motivate Yourself by Steve Chandler. And that was great. That was really what opened my eyes. One of the things he talks about in there is like, why should the thoughts in other people's head determine how I feel about myself?
I love that.
And so that really helped open up my eyes. Like, wow, that is really true. So I stopped caring what mom and dad said. I stopped caring what my negative family said and my negative friends said. And I was like on my mission. And then that's how luckily we've gotten able where we were.
That's fantastic. And we both have kids. So when we're talking about that mindset and whatnot, and as you shared, that also flows into the kids, right? They see the parents, right? Kids see the parents. And if the parents are, oh, you know what? We don't have any money for this. We can't afford that. We can't. It's all a mindset. It's all up here, right? I like to joke, when my daughters were running around my office when I had my office at home, and they would hear me negotiate $1 million, $5 million. Let's put that property under contract for $3 million. Because we're doing multifamily. They're walking around listening to these numbers.
Yeah.
They're getting accustomed to dealing with those numbers, with those high numbers, right? Kids around the neighborhood, their parents don't talk about that, right? Like you said, their parents wake up in the morning, give the kids a kiss goodbye, put them in school, then they go to work, they come home, they try to have a good relationship for the 3-4 hours that they're there, and then everybody goes to bed and they do it all over again. And then comes the weekend, the kids are out doing what they're doing. The parents are out there cleaning the garage, taking care of the house, whatever. There's none of that. There are no seeds that are being planted in the children's mind, or no positive seeds that are being planted in the children's mind, so that when they grow up, these seeds now flourish and now they have the world at their feet. It actually does kind of the opposite. It contracts their thought processes in their minds by not having parents like yourselves who are always looking to get out of their comfort zone and build and do more and help and all of that stuff, right? So it really, we need more of that in society.
And I had a super proud dad moment last week. My son was talking with one of his friends. They played this video game online, and you could buy like different like little things for it, but it costs like real world money. And one of his friends tells my son, he was like, well, if I had your parents, they would just give me the money to buy that, whatever I wanted, because they see my son's got some stuff. My son was like, oh, no, they don't. He's like, if I want something, I have to work for it. He spun his friend right around instantly. He was like, oh, no, I don't just get stuff. Like, I have to work for it. I'm like, honey, like, get over here, give dad a hug. I love it. Like, right. But that's what parenting is, right? It's teaching the kids life's not just given to you. You got to go out there and work for it. And my son already at this age knows if he wants something, there's a chance he could have it. And more likely, especially if he works for it, then he can have it. So that's what's been the big gift.
Sure. My 17-year-old just got a job. She actually has 2 jobs now.
Nice.
And she, when she got a license, I said, I'll get you a car. I'll pay for the insurance, but you pay for the gas. I'm not paying for you to drive your friends around and go God knows where and whatnot. That's on you. You don't have gas, you don't go anywhere. You have to figure it out. And she was working last weekend while my other daughter during spring break was on a boat hanging out in Lake Boca doing the whole thing. And my daughter's like, this work stuff, man, it's crazy. And she dinged up the trunk of her car and she goes, how much do you think that it's going to cost to fix? I said, it's about $1,500. She goes, are you kidding me? She goes, I only make $200 a week. How is that? How am I going to? I said, we'll figure it out. We'll show you how to save and how to do that. I'll go fix it for her and whatnot. But she's starting to understand that this job thing is not the way to go. And she's, they're both now coming to me going, what can we do to help you? How can we help you in what you're doing? I said, all right, let's go. I got a ton of business cards. Here's my CRM, just like you. Load them in there. I'll give you $1 a business card. I've got hundreds of business cards. So when they're done, they'll have hundreds of dollars. I give you $1 a business card. It's got to be done correctly. I show them what I wanted, what success looked like. And now they're starting to do that. Now they're doing. I also said, hey, I have an Etsy store that I created and I sell t-shirts and whatnot. You can take that over and again, wherever you are in the world, you can sit on your phone, post a couple of t-shirts, you get sales, that money is yours, and we can start doing sales and growing. So they're now little by little catching on to it, understanding that, wow, that sucks. I got to be on a Saturday. I got to be stuck away in some ice skating rink while my sister is out on a boat with our friends hanging out.
Yeah.
So it's nice when they get that little realization, when that epiphany happens.
But what a great job to you. And, just like knowing that those moments aren't taught anywhere else. And so as hard as it is to see, oh man, the frustration, but that's amazing.
Yeah. Yeah. So what's in it? What's the future looking like for Jenn and Joe?
Well, we're staying in Florida.
So
definitely
sunny and beautiful. Definitely sunny and beautiful down here. I traveling.
Yeah.
I love to travel. My wife loves to travel. The kids love to travel. At their young age, they've gone to so many places, which is really, really neat. And I think that's my love language. That I love to travel. And so I really want to be able to spend our kids at they're 11 and 8. They're not going to be living at home for much longer.
That's right.
But he will still be doing deals. Don't let him fool you. We were just at the mastermind. We were chatting with Ted Thomas, and he's 85.
Ted Thomas is 85, still doing deals, still coaching. And
he told us, don't retire.
And you know what he said? Because we've always talked about, I'm like, honey, I don't know if I ever really want to retire, because even when I'm not supposed to be looking at houses, I still do, because I'm weird like that. I love what I do. So I feel lucky. And I don't know if I'll ever want to stop. And Ted's like, don't stop, because that's when, you gain weight and you die. That's what he told me. He's 85 years old. The guy's the sharpest looking dresser in the place, still doing deals. And then I'm sitting next to Ron LeGrand, who's in his late 70s, still doing it, right? You've got so many of these legends that are still doing it. So I am not that old yet. I would still have a long ways, but I enjoyed this. I love what I get to do. It's really fun. So for me, I just want to continue to help people.
Just continue growing our community. I think that's really important. We do a live meetup every single month here in Bradenton, Florida. So that's a lot of fun, connecting local people there. We do a lot online. And then I think in the future too, we definitely want to start hosting events and get people in person, because that was lost in COVID for a bit there. But there's so much power when you can actually get people in a room and calling the sellers live. I think that would be a lot of fun.
That'll be great. That'll be great. Well, Jenn and Joe, thank you so much for being here. You guys really added a lot of value to our listeners, and keep doing what you're doing. Keep educating your children, keep being the example. Go out there, continue putting out that positive force, that positive energy. Change the world, make it a better place. Thank you so much for being here. We appreciate it.
Thanks for having us out. It was a great time.
Yeah, you're awesome.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Absolutely. And listeners, again, you guys want to go to creativefinanceplaybook.com, and you can go on YouTube as well and check out Creative Finance Playbook. They've got a ton of content. They're great people. We were hanging out this weekend in Tampa together at a family mastermind. It was phenomenal. And for those of you who want to get involved, check them out, Creative Finance Playbook, where you can buy a house for $100, put a tenant in there, do rent to own, and get that cash flow in, baby. That's wonderful. Until next time.
Cash flow everything.
Cash flow everything. I love it. There you go. That's right. Cash flow everything around. I love it.
Yep.
And until next time, we'll see you guys at the top. Take care.
Thank you so much for having us.
Yeah.